everyone, my name is Droogie Forever, and today we're going to try to play Black Rose for the Screamathon. Alright. So, I am practicing for the speedrun, but at the same time, it's the Screamathon. So, is someone else here? I'll try to do as much as I can to give you little bits about the story, but it is a practice thing, you know. So we're going to combine regular playthrough and speedrun into hopefully interesting amalgamation. Baby monitor here. Strange. People are strange with baby monitors. No, I don't want to. Who was that? There's a note here. I never read it, but I'll read it for the video. Let's see. Her eyes. Don't look her in the eyes. The other baby monitor's down here. This is weird. I'm not sure I want to be here anymore. Something feels wrong. I'm not supposed to be here today. Don't go. Stay here with me. What's going on? Ah! Ah! Oh shit. Boo. Maybe we gotta go back into the casket, I think. Should be a gold key. Whoops. Wrong. Where am I going? Okay, I'm totally lost. Is it here? Yeah, there we go. It's gold key in the coffin. Oh god. Come on, lady, leave me alone. Finally, jeez. I don't like her. The only way to keep Myrtle in her coffin for good is to lock it. I thought I had locked it before, but someone else must have unlocked it. Either that or the lid was forced open. There's a key labeled Myrtle. Well, let's go lock Myrtle in her coffin. Is she in there? I should probably do what the note said. I need to lock this thing. Silver key labeled V Room 1. It's jammed. So I think I know what we need to do here. We need to unlock that.
Ever since my first day working here, I've felt a little strange. Now, after what happened that day, things seem to be getting even stranger. I'd even go so far as to say creepy. I've been an embalmer for years now, and I'm very passionate about my job. I've always felt comfortable with what I do, so it's pretty unusual that I feel this way. 2 of my colleagues have died. I had to embalm them both. However, grief can't explain this feeling. Up until just 4 days ago, I hadn't even known about the history of this funeral home. I already knew that it was ridiculously old, but what I didn't know was that it allegedly harbors some kind of powerful aura which traps and torments the spirits of people who have died in a state of grief or fear, and have at some point been associated with the building in one way or another. These associations apparently include those occurring post-mortem, such as embalmings and funerals.
Alright, now we gotta follow this dude. I don't remember if we need to read that. I'm not asking you to speak to me, but I made something for you today. At first, I thought about going out and picking you the prettiest flowers I could find, but decided not to. Flowers are beautiful, but eventually they all die. Instead, I made you an origami rose. Paper will never wither, just like my love for you. This rose is black because the love we once shared is gone. It was lost in the darkness, and there's no ignoring that. However, even if this love is no longer mutual, there's still one side that will never die. This rose is our symbol. Oh, there's a note here now. Miss Raines, please tell your son to stop playing under the tables during funeral services. It's disruptive and upsetting to the grieving families. Today, he also stole one of the keys to the visitation room and was later attempting to open one of the drawers in the morgue. This type of behavior is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. If you do not start controlling him, I will take it upon myself to personally teach him a lesson. Michael.
To make things even weirder, this place has a serious lockdown system. Yesterday was the first time I've ever seen it used, and many of the workers, including myself, were ordered to wait in the family room until the situation was taken care of. No one I've spoken to about it knows why it was done, or at least they won't say. All I know is that these safety glass windows and electronic gates appear to be designed for keeping things in rather than out. I was the first responder that day. I was the first and only person to make it to Myrtle's side before she passed away. She managed to give Sullivan a parting "I love you" on that baby monitor, but that was the last communication they ever had. The last thing she ever did was give me that piece of paper. It was a short poem she had written for Sullivan earlier that day. She asked me to give it to him, and I promised her I would. Then she slipped away. I guess Sullivan had picked up by Myrtle's weak rasping in the baby monitor that something was happening to her, because soon after she had passed, he came running into the hall from the upstairs arrangement room.
Excuse me.
But he was too late. She was gone. That's when he broke down. I'd never seen him show so much emotion towards Myrtle before. Then, of course, the rest happened. I'll keep my promise, even now. It's all I can do for my dear friends.
Alright, now, in the videos I've seen, people turn the volume down and then back up here, and that gets your volume back. I'm not sure why, but your volume is affected there somehow, some way.
There are a lot of strange things I've seen around this place. For instance, the fireplace that isn't even a real fireplace. It's some kind of ladder shaft, but there's a tough metal grate fastened over it that appears to be controlled electronically, most likely by the lockdown system. I'm assuming the shaft leads down to the basement, but it must have been sealed off because it's not accessible from anywhere down there. Another thing I've started wondering about is a metal handle that's been sitting on Michael's desk for about a month now. I asked about it once out of curiosity, but he avoided giving me a direct answer. He told me it broke off of something. I had already assumed this, seeing as it's covered in dirt and rusted around the edges where it had clearly been attached to something for a very long time. Perhaps the biggest mystery I've encountered here is the place Myrtle always went for privacy. She was often depressed, so she was always going into the downstairs hall on her way to wherever it was she went to be alone. However, she seemed to vanish. The only place she could have gone from that hallway is down into the basement, but I went down there one day to ask her something and I couldn't find her. I'm wondering if there's a secret room somewhere down there. After all, I did learn from Michael that this building is from the 1600s, long before it was ever a funeral home. Buildings as old as this one sometimes have quite a few secret areas. They still haven't buried them. Sullivan has been lying in his coffin now for 2 days, and Myrtle for 3. Because Conrad refused to touch Myrtle's coffin after her funeral, it had to be put aside so Sullivan could have his. Conrad still simply doesn't want to have anything to do with the burial of either of them, even if all he's doing is preparing a future grave without actually touching the coffins. I'm starting to wonder if he had some type of unpleasant encounter with Myrtle and Sullivan's coffins, or he heard some absurd rumor about their corpses. What's sad is that Myrtle and Sullivan don't have relatives who care enough about their burials to actually do something about this. Michael was embarrassed to have to tell all the relatives and friends that the actual burials couldn't be held yet. Even so, none of them objected. Maybe they just didn't see a point in doing so, considering the person they would be doing it for is already gone. I don't know. As far as feeling nervous around coffins, I do get a strange vibe now in the visitation room. The atmosphere in there is starting to feel different. The air feels heavier, a little bit oppressive even. It seems to be more noticeable today than it was yesterday. I'm not quite sure if I believe in ghosts or not, but it seems to fit what I've heard before about locations having uncomfortable, negative energy due to evil or extremely upset spirits. Maybe it's just normal stuffy air. There aren't any windows in there, and it is the middle of summer.
Sorry, there aren't that many more notes, I don't
It
think.
turns out that Devin got into the morgue by stealing Sullivan's key card from the office. Mrs. Raines had been in there and forgot to lock it when she left. Nobody knows exactly how the kid figured out the passcode, but considering what a flake his mother is, that's probably just something else she inadvertently compromised. They're burying Sullivan with a few of his belongings from the funeral home. I guess because he had worked here for so long and was so loyal to his job. Michael revealed that one of those belongings is Sullivan's key card. Of course, they would need to deactivate it from the system to avoid any breaches and the chance that it was stolen, but then again, Mrs. Raines would be the one who would do that. I discovered earlier today that Devin had stolen the system lock override key as well and hidden it somewhere in the building. This has got to be the most troublesome, ill-behaved kid I have ever encountered.
Grief-stricken man killed by train after blinding himself. 57-year-old Sullivan James, one of 2 funeral directors at the Chanmeyer Hills Funeral Home, was killed Monday after he tripped and fell onto the tracks of an oncoming train. According to his co-workers at the funeral home, James had slipped into a state of grief-stricken hysteria just minutes earlier after experiencing an emotional breakdown over the death of a childhood friend and co-worker, Myrtle Van Worth, who had been suffering from a severe brain tumor which doctors had deemed him inoperable. Miss Varnworth passed away 9 days after the end of her predicted death date. James, devastated, apparently gouged out his own eyes using a scalpel from the funeral home's preparation room and managed to scramble out a nearby window. Miles Treadman, an embalmer at Chanmeyer Hill's funeral home, and a short-time co-worker of Mr. James had begun to chase after the frenzied man through the field behind the building, but was not able to catch him before he reached a nearby segment of railroad tracks and tripped, falling down on top of them. Treadman and a few other eyewitnesses reported that James made no attempt to get up as the train quickly rolled in. Grief-stricken Sullivan James was killed on impact, the fast-moving train hitting him with such force that he was severed into 3 pieces. It has been speculated by those who knew the man that his fatal episode was driven by guilt for not treating his longtime friend how he believed he should have. This double tragedy at the Chanmeyer Hills funeral home has sparked a great deal of public interest in the site, and has become an attraction for loitering and vandalism among young people. In the 3 days that have passed since the incident, 3 arrests have already been made. They never buried either of them. Both are still here, it says. There's something written on the back. They say that if you take his rose, he wakes up. That's the only way his coffin will open. I heard that he also tears you into 3 pieces if he catches you. Something's under the table. They won't find it ever. There's a key here. V room 2. They stitched him back together.
All those attending the funeral service for Sullivan James, please gather in the visitation room.
Dare you, double dare you. Black origami rose. Take it? Yes.
Sullivan James was blind as a bat.
At the end.
James fell down flat. Sullivan James is withered and blue. Sullivan James is coming for you.
Oh shit. Yep, he's coming. Something just fell where Sullivan was. It's a key card. I don't remember how you get the code, but I do know the code. So we're just going to use it. Now in here, there's really only one thing we have to do. Remember what it said about the boy pulling the drawers out? That'll come into play in a second.
Everyone here is dead. They've all been killed.
They're all
Ghosts
dead.
in this house are not like ghosts in other houses. If they're looking for something specific, their corpses actually get up. Someone threw the lockdown switch and I can't get out. I finally found the override key, but I'm not sure exactly where the switch is. Although I might have an idea. I remember overhearing a conversation Michael was having a few months ago about something which was located underground. I'm confused as to whether or not this underground location is the main basement where Myrtle's coffin is. I went down there a while ago and looked around, but it appears to be mostly a storage space. Maybe I missed it. The basement is extremely dark, even with a flashlight. Maybe I need to go search again more thoroughly. I need to find the switch. My very life depends on it, as do the lives of many future wanderers if this doesn't stop. One of the most unsettling things about this funeral home is that after a while, you start to feel as though it's hanging by a thread and on the verge of collapsing, prevented only by the mysterious force that fills the building. It's such a strange feeling. Maybe I'm not the same skeptic I was before working here. But where is that damn switch?
In the deepest part of the house.
See? The kid pulled that out. They mentioned it in the note. X marks the spot. But we got another chase ahead of us. Oh. Oh shit. I was like, where is he? All right. We need to go into the church. Well, I call it the church just because it's got pews in there. It's not church, but I just call it that. Syslock. Deepest part of the house. Could this go even deeper underground? The light within your eyes ignites me like a spark. It is them for which I'll search forever in the dark. Part of the floor is loose. Wait a second, I think this is a sliding door. Feels like it uses some sort of spring mechanism that keeps it closed. I'll have to hold it open. An oppressive miasma is emanating from down below. From this point forward, there's no turning back. Enter the passage. This is also your final save. If anybody's playing this for the first time, this is the final place the game saves. So you have to repeat all of this if you die, and it sucks.
This is it. Now I know where Myrtle always went for privacy.
Because the hardest part of the game is right before the end of it.
Came from. Devin must have been trapped down here and couldn't get out. It was only a little while after the search when everything went wrong. All I was ever trying to do was keep my promise. I only ever had the best intentions, but I've angered Sullivan. It was a mistake to touch that rose. This might be the last thing I ever write. I've left my notes all throughout this building in hopes that they might help anyone who happened to get trapped here. If that's the case, and you've made it this far, I'm sorry to say that I probably never made it out. However, I can tell you that I know for a fact the switch is down here. Once I flip it, I will leave the control key behind. If you already have it, then it was moved somehow. Nonetheless, there's one last thing I can give you, and that's a promise. These tunnels are not a dead end. At some point, there's a ladder which will take you back up to the ground floor. I don't know how far down it is, but I know that it's there. I always did feel a very faint draft coming from that fireplace, and sounds always seemed to echo down into it. After disabling the system lock, there should be a definite escape path. This air is stifling. Ever since Myrtle's death, the energy throughout this entire building has been growing more and more negative. My body is starting to ache, and my stomach is becoming unsettled. Now I'm getting dizzy. This house has been collecting souls for so many years. It needs to be stopped. It needs to be torn down. If I never make it out, I'll just be one more soul that's claimed. I guess I do believe in ghosts after all.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Ba-da-bum-bum-ba-bum. Wouldn't that be crazy if that just kicked in? Like, this just ended up being some elaborate Ghostbusters mod. That'd be fantastic. Ba-da-bum-bum-ba-da-bum. You make it to the end and there's fucking Egon or something. Don't cross the streams. Nothing's happening. The fuses are missing. Do, re, mi, Egon. Alright, the hardest part of the game is coming up on the ladder. I have died there before, so it's not easy. They tell you to use the arrow keys, but you have to use A and D and the arrow keys. It's the only way to get through it. It will not work if you don't do that. If you just use the arrow keys, you'll die. Should be like 2 more turns. Here we go. Hardest part of the game right here. Okay. We made it. It's hard because you got to tap A and D with your left hand and the arrow keys with your right hand. It is not easy. It took me a little while to get through that. I actually practiced it before the video just to make sure I could actually do it. So there you go. That's Black Rose. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying the Screamathon. If you did, if you are, tell that like button you want to smash. And don't forget to subscribe. You stay you. I'll stay me. Droogie forever. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Expect the speedrun. Okay? I'll see you in the next video. Later.